Hello guys and welcome to a new video. In today's video we are going to discuss chapter 1027 of One Piece. So this chapter was really slow compared to other chapters, but it had a lot of meaning behind it. We can start by saying that Luffy is Yonko level power wise. He's fighting Yonko and he's splitting the sky as we saw in the last chapter, and people recognize this in this chapter. It's like the scene when Whitebeard clashed with Shanks and the sky split. While that happened, Whitebeard's crew observed the sky splitting moment and even noted that the heavens are splitting just from their clash, which shows that even though that clash was friendly clash, nothing behind it, not a bloody one like we have in this panel with Luffy versus Kaido, but it shows the strength level of those two. So here we start by seeing Yamato recognize the sky splitting moment from Oden's logbook, because as we saw before, the sky split when Roger was fighting Whitebeard. And it is an important moment in this series, because even our crew wasn't present for any of these moments. This moment is now happening for the 4th time, so it only happened 3 times before, and the only people that were present there are the Whitebeards, Shanks, Rogers, and Kaido's crew. Even Big Mom's crew wasn't there when Big Mom clashed with Kaido. So this was a novelty for many people and it needed to be recognized by all of them. Now whether they know that Luffy was the reason or not, well, I don't really think so, because they were in the roof and only Yamato was there. Yamato observed that and noted that this is the same as Rogers versus Whitebeard. So what do we expect in the future? In a previous video, I stated that Yamato is in standby for assisting Luffy, but it turns out that Luffy doesn't need any assistant for the time being like he did before. Hopefully not the same result, hopefully he won't be knocked down again. Luffy asked Yamato to assist Momo since he knows that it is a big responsibility to take care of Onigashima's falling, and he didn't want that burden to be held up by Momo alone. Yamato took off with Momo, of course in his dragon form. When Momo was flying next to Onigashima, it really surprised me how big he was. And I think that Oda did it purposely to show us how big Momo is, and that is indeed compared to Kaido. Before, when they first showed him, when Oda showed Momo next to Luffy, he seemed a lot smaller than Kaido's size is, but now we can see that they are the same size. It showed before, of course, in the last chapter, and now it even confirmed it, and this for me is an indication that this size will matter, because as Onigashima is falling, as Kaido is moving it with his clouds, even though Yamato stated that his control is weakening, we know that controlling these clouds is new to Momo, and if he wants to use his power to technically preserve Onigashima, it is kinda hard, if not impossible, because it's still new to him. So I am still in the same theory that I stated before, that Momo will use his grand body to hold off or smoothen Onigashima's falling while steering it away from the capital. Yamato turn in all of this. I think either Yamato will be the one that's going to provide the plan and assist Momo in some ways, maybe with her devil fruit powers. We don't know the extent of her power yet. Another crazy theory might be that Yamato will get the idea from those falling debris from the island, tear the island even more, use her thunder bagua or her devil fruit or whatever attacks she can with the grand AoE scale to attack the island, take as much piece of it as she could from below and upward, so its weight get less and less and Momo can control it even further. Now, as for the moment when Luffy asked Yamato to go away and he will take care of Kaido by his own, it really surprised me. Of course, we know that this is Luffy's style to take on opponents 1v1, even though he might get assistance from time to time with some major opponents like Doflamingo, but he did take many main antagonists by himself like Lucci and Caesar and Enel and many more. Now, for this fight, I think that Luffy can hold himself against Kaido because he did so before he was knocked down, and he held for a big period of time, and we even saw that Yamato held herself against him even though he was serious fighting her while Luffy was recovering eating his food. The thing is, Luffy is really battered from his previous encounter, and it might seem that Kaido is in full shape, but as we saw from times and times again, that he is taking damage. little it was from the scabbards to Zoro's attack, and lastly from Yamato. He was taking damage, and him moving Onigashima to the capital was a poor move by him because it consumes a lot of stamina. So we can say that Kaido might be the strongest in Wano right now, and maybe in the world. He might be also the sturdiest, even more than Big Mom, but I don't think that his stamina is as big as it is. Or maybe it is, but he is consuming it a lot faster than he should. He didn't need to move Onigashima right now in the middle of battle, but his confidence or maybe arrogance made him pick this poor choice. Moving Onigashima while battling, I don't think that was a good move, my friend. We also have to remember that Momo is a kid in an adult body, so we should give him some slack. Even if he fails, it might be the tragic ending of this act. Maybe Oda will show it falling somewhere and in the act 3 on it as the tragedy of this act, but we find out later that it was falling smoothly and he was smoothing it with the aid of Yamato. It might be. Another thing that we need to take care of is that stupid face Orochi fooling around, sneaking from place to place, making fire to explode the island, since it is, as Yamato said, a big bomb, which really was funny to me because it reminded me of Pell and his quote-unquote sacrifice to save the Arabasta kingdom. So I think this will be Nami's move to extinguish the fire by creating some clouds and making it rain all over. Maybe with the help of Zeus it will be even bigger and even more efficient. Another thing to consider is how Yamato is considerate of Luffy's situation. She knows that Luffy is trying to protect everyone and to take care of things with the lowest casualties as he could, so she didn't want to share the information of the falling of Onigashima in case he defeated Kaido, which seems kinda hard to believe to be happening anytime soon. So he will have plenty of time to fight his way. But another thing that might happen is Kaido turning off that cloud thing to preserve what left of his energy to fully fight Luffy as well as he could. Lastly, we end the chapter on Zoro fighting King. It was really amazing to see Zoro fighting a battle that is really worth watching. We need all the main cast's fights to the fullest. I really want to see their techniques, but it seems that Oda in the last portion of Wano only uses highlights to highlight big attacks or big moments or important dialogue from these characters and even from the main cast, like what happened with Inuyarashi and Nekomamushi. So my fingers are crossed that the anime will develop it even more and will give us more things to enjoy and look forward to. Zoro finally have a fight that seems, at the very least, a bigger challenge than he usually takes. The biggest challenge that Zoro got from the New World after his 2 years of training are first him having a 2v1 fight with Killer when Killer was subordinate to Kaido to save his captain after eating Smile, which was a bit of a challenge for Zoro. And last, the roof piece when he blocked a combined attack from Big Mom and Kaido, which fucked him up. Those two fights that I mentioned was from the extreme of difficult that almost nobody in this world could achieve, blocking a combined attack of Yonko, which almost killed Zoro, to the slightly difficult of him having a 2v1 fight with Killer. So now he have a challenging fight with the first commander of Yonko. In some ways it is parallel to Luffy's fight against Katakuri, but here at last Zoro having some boosts, learning Kinemon's Firefox style, unlocking one of the craziest swords, getting accustomed to Enma, further developing his Conqueror Haki with his attacks. So it is really cool to see Zoro fighting him, and we see that King uses some kind of slashing attacks with his wings that he shaped like a sword, and he might even coat it with armament Haki, we don't know yet. But it seemed somewhat not the usual type of sword fights that were given to Zoro. Like the case with Pika's fight, it was somewhat original but not that interesting. Now we have some original fight that isn't only compared to sword fight, and it is difficult. Let's hope in the next chapter, which I'm glad that we won't have a break for next week. Let's hope that we either focus on one of them fights, Luffy's fight or Zoro's fight, or maybe even have a look at Sanji's fight and what his red suit done to his body. I only hope that Zoro's and Sanji's fight won't be just some highlights and end like Nekomamushi and Inuarashi fights did, and then have multiple chapters of Raizo's fights, because it seems that maybe Oda want to explore his ninja ways with Raizo. Oh yes, and before I go, that cover story was amazing. That was really hilarious. It reminded me of Luffy. Roger is basically Luffy but with a mustache. Him fooling around, and we see Buggy and Shanks on top of a tree for safety measures, and Shanks crying due to the foolishness of his captain. That was really hilarious, and I'm glad Oda did that. If you want my full-on detailed Luffy status as a Yonko, you can find it in my channel. And now I leave you guys. Thank you for your time. Please consider subscribing and liking if you enjoyed the content, and have a nice day.